Hi, and I'm back, and it's another serious topic. You all know, I'm talking to those people who maybe looking at my YouTube videos from America about the indigenous children's graves, unmarked graves being uncovered in Kamloops, BC, and Saskatchewan, and um, it was indeed a tragedy. And the children, as I have written in my both published and unpublished essays, they died of hunger, abuse, neglect, and disease. And the Catholic Church accepted responsibility, but the children did not have a fair life. And to some people, it means a lot. These people, the indigenous people, um, as you all know, were the were the first ones to evolve into the Homo sapien species in Canada, and their whole culture being wiped out would be a tragedy. They have to have some of their culture retained, but I spoke out against the whole residential school system, and it was a tragedy because the children were denied what they had been raised with all of a sudden. But if they had continued completely with the indigenous way of life and not moved with the times, because whatever you may say, the settler Canadians had colonized Canada. Uh, Along with the mother country Britain, and France, they would not have um, uh, what was my point here? They would not have they were missable, so to speak. Yeah. So, anyways, back to Miles Davis. The boy woke up crying. He was in the Kamloops residential school in British Columbia, Canada. He remembered ice fishing with his father. His mother would be talking to the dogs of the dog sled. He never caught any fish. His mother said in First Nations, Gagi in, I love you, my son. He could say now. His father said in Ojibwe, Ojim, Ojig, kissed the fisher. The fish struggled in the net as he himself had when he first came here. The strength of his indigenous forefathers had died in him. He had learned about Samson and Delilah from the Catholic nuns in their presidential school. This very one, his braids, which he had worn with feathers, had been cut off, just like Samson's hair. He wanted to go walking in the wilderness. The school rules did not allow such freedom. His soul was shriveling up. He was hungry. He was growing up. He wanted his mother to hug him and teach him an indigenous prayer instead of what he had learned, and had learned to say, "Thank you, God, for everything." He had been bad, they said, for he had asked for extra pudding. He had been sent to bed without being allowed to finish his dinner. Maybe it would be good for him, all this learning. He would move with the times, change with the times. Maybe he would be happier shooting from his arrows from his bow at a deer. Maybe not. He was himself like a deer, wanting to run away from his hunters. The Catholic priest who ran the school said, "Forget your mother, forget your father." How could he, when he had their blood running through his veins, coursing through his arteries? Slowly, as days passed by, and although he felt hungry, he never had enough to eat, and he did not eat much. He became difficult and sullen, partly because he was hungry all the time. The priest and the nuns hit him, but he had the spirit of his forefathers, the strength of the people who came first in this land of Canada, people who battled their way through the cold and the forest and built it. He did not back down, although he was hurt. Was he foolhardy? Slowly his body began to weaken and he developed tuberculosis. He had no resistance to fight the disease. He was learning English, but longed to hear his parents say, "Hey, sonny boy," in First Nations or Ojibwe. One night, he was hungry and ill, and he saw the Indigenous sun god beckon to him, and he went to him without a struggle. Next morning, the nuns came to wake the children up and thought that the boy, renamed Evan in this residential school, was being difficult. "Boy, are you in trouble?" they said, and shook him hard. The boy was dead, clutching a feather in his hand. They alerted the head priest, who dug up a grave and gave him a burial, neither indigenous nor quite Christian. All the boys and girls cried, but were themselves too weak to mourn him. The sun shone on Evan's grave. He was maybe happy at last. Give a big hand of applause for Miles Davis.